Mic check 1 2 3 4 5. I'm sitting with Judy Frazier, former chief meteorologist at WCIA 3.
Right.
Judy, how you doing today?
I'm doing just great. Sitting here in my nice, cozy, warm house with the fire on, watching the snowfall.
Yeah, it's been coming down pretty good today.
Yes.
It's been a number of years since you've been in the studio forecasting. When you have these big impact events, you look back on your years, and now of your retirement, a little more enjoyable now?
I think so. I mean, I at first I missed it terribly because these are special moments in weather when you're covering big events, and it's stressful, but it's wonderful to know that you're protecting people out there, and that I miss. But as far as just enjoying life now and not having to stay there all night in your dorm room, catching a shut-eye once in a while, this is much nicer. So I can sit home and watch all of you.
Now, over the years, technology has changed quite a bit, and
Yep.
you're sitting on the receiving end, I guess, of the forecast now at home.
Right.
From the days of Mr. Roberts
Right.
to now, what are some of the changes you've seen, and how do you think that's helped or hindered forecasting?
Well, obviously, we didn't have the technology that you have today and the abilities to make the kind of graphics you have, and forecasting tools are, 100 times better than they were back when I started in 1976. So I think a lot of it is obviously good because it gives you a much more accurate picture of what is going to happen. I mean, you can forecast now. I mean, you can almost tell us when it's going to start, when it's going to stop, to the minute. So I think the tools of today are much more helpful than when I started doing the weather. I started doing the weather in 1976, and the first 5 years I was here, from the late 70s through the early 80s, were the top worst winter seasons that Central Illinois has ever had. So Old Man Winter was furious in those days, and I sort of had weather by baptism, or baptism by weather, whatever. But things are a lot different now. I sometimes think the storms of then and now. I mean, we would have winter that would start in November and stay through March, and it was not only snowy, but it was cold. So you never had these 40, 50 day temperature swings, or no snow until February 1st. I mean, those were tough seasons, and it just seems like we have bursts of them, but it's a lot different. And I just think things have improved a great deal in forecasting, the tools that you have.
When you think back to those winters in the 70s and all of the big snow and all of the ice,
right?
What stands out about them?
Well, the 77, 78, I remember the most, perhaps. We had 68 inches of snow that year for the entire season. And I think get normally 24 to 26, is that a normal
number, yeah.
winter? So it was 2-3 times more than we usually get. And the drifts, I can remember the snow, I call them the snowplowed debris that is at the end of your driveway or along the streets. I felt like I was driving through a snow tunnel. I mean, they were almost as tall as I was, and you couldn't see the top of people's homes. You could just see the roofs. It was so bad, and it stayed that way. We had I think I remember an 18-inch snow cover the entire winter season. So I just remember some of the troubles we had as far as driving was concerned. In one of these siege, in one of the years, I don't remember which year it was, but I remember I couldn't get out of my subdivision. I mean, they literally could not get the plows through. And so I had since there was only Mr. Roberts, myself, and Mary Sue who filled in, I had to be there. And so a neighbor took me on a snowmobile to Windsor Road, and Channel 3 sent a pickup truck with a shovel on it. And they used to use that to clean their parking lot, and they took me to work, and that's where I stayed for days on end. It was just, those were tough times, and I remember them well.
One of the famous stories people always talk about, I hear it a lot today even, is the Bement boulders.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I think I'm not sure. I was not really involved with that, but Jerry Slabe was, I believe. And I think he got stuck at the Bement Bowl for days. And I guess he was bowling and kibitzing with people, but I don't remember that as well because I don't think I was involved with the Bement Bowl as much as he was.
Looking at the winter storm today and the impacts that have happened, how does this stand in terms of other winter storms that you've covered, and what are some of the things that stand out that are maybe a little different from some of those memorable ones of the past?
Yeah, well, I guess the ones of the past were what I call Mother Nature on a rampage. I mean, they were huge storms. I think the reason this one is impacting us so much, it's the first one we've had this year. And you could probably count on, well, maybe one hand, the big snowstorms that we had in the past. This is a big one. I mean, 15 inches of snow is nothing to sneeze at. And we can cover it better. I think we can warn people more about it. It still obviously has an impact. I mean, going to the grocery store, I mean, maybe this always happens, but this particular time, I think people got a little, comfortable in not having to deal with this. And so you have a big storm of this magnitude. People are going to be impacted by it and are going to react that way. But in my memory, I guess, in the years that I was involved with the weather, this ranks up there, but nothing like the storms of the 70s and 80s. And I think 2007 and 8, maybe we had a bad year. Not only because of snowstorms, but ice storms.
I remember that ice storm.
Yeah, those were not good either.
I think that was in February.
I think it was too.
It was on my birthday, actually.
Oh, is that right?
I remember we were supposed to go out and eat.
Happy birthday,
yeah,
Jacob.
it didn't work out very well. We lost power and we were out for a while
Yeah,
up in Gibson City.
yeah.
So it was something to see.
I guess so, yeah.
When you look back in the years, we talk a lot about winter events. It seems like in the last decade, we started having more severe weather events during the winter months. Do you remember over the years any November, December events?
I don't. No, I don't. I don't remember, the obvious ones that we've had recently. And I'm not sure. I've been retired now for 11 years, so I missed out on some of the, the big storms that did occur in the winter months. But I don't recall. I just remember the winters starting in November, winter, and going all the way through the 80s, or mid-80s anyway. Except I do remember 2007 and 8 when we did have some ice storms and so forth, but I don't remember tornadic events that much. But then my memory's not as good as it used to be.
I think that's all right. We kind of noticed where, we haven't really had a big April event around here, severe weather-wise, since I want to say it was Easter of 2006, perhaps.
Yeah.
That's when down in Coles County and whatnot, we've kind of talked in the Weather Center ourselves about,
right.
Hey, we're getting more severe weather now in the winter months, and
right.
This past year, even for tornado activity in Central Carolina, was awfully high up on the list for it here.
Right.
So I was just wondering if there was anything that stood out, or if winter was actually winter, and it sounds like that's the case.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, the winters of yesterday were winters where we had snow on the ground from November through March. Snow mounds didn't melt till April sometimes. And so that was the winter I remember, but we've had more mild winters in the last, I don't know, 10, maybe even 15 years, where you still have your events like now. I was thinking, gee, my woolly worm forecast was wrong until 2 days ago.
we joked about that a little.
I didn't tell you when the woolly worm said it was going to happen. So February, and last February, we have an inch or more of snow. Most of our snow came in February, so it's interesting.
Less than about 6 inches or so
Yeah.
into the month of February, and we caught up quick.
Right.
With the 2-week Arctic blast that happened, and that affected a big chunk of the country, even well outside of Central.
Absolutely. But it's just, you look at weather events across the country, and it is a little scary. I mean, you have your droughts, and then you have your fires, and you have your tornadoes, and they all seem to be escalating to a certain point, and it really makes you start thinking about what is happening out there in our big wide world. you know.
All right, let's talk the controversial topic of the woolly worms.
Ah,
That's been something we've joked about a little bit.
yeah.
Were the woolly worms of the 70s more intense looking, scary looking than the woolly worms of today?
I was trying to think about that the other day about, you know, these little critters that I've been following for years and years and years, have no meteorological credence whatsoever, but it's just kind of fun. And as I've always said, 80% of the time, I don't know why, they are, generally speaking, kind of on target. But, you know, it's just fun. And people respond so wonderfully and send me all of these pictures of these little wild woolly worms. And some years it's surprising. The years we've had ice storms, the woolly worms have more spiky fur or hair, whatever. And it turns out that we had more ice storms in that particular year. So it's just fun to do, and I love it when they're right. Last year, they were perfectly on target. This year, until 2 days ago, they weren't particularly right. So, but they came through for me, so I'm happy.
They always will, won't they? Yeah. Maybe last thoughts on winter weather in Central Illinois. Anything you think of over the years, or memories, or anything like that?
No, I just I enjoy winter. I mean, I especially enjoy it as a viewer. When I was in the midst of it, it was tough, not as you finding out, getting to work, having to stay there, the terror sometimes of predicting a huge storm like this, and people reacting to it, and all of that. So that part of winter I enjoyed immensely when I was doing it, but now I can be safe at home, and I guess commiserate with all of you and knowing exactly what you're going through. But I enjoy that too. I just enjoy watching our team at Channel 3 because we got the best. There's no question about it. And you guys do a terrific job, and I'm very, very proud to say that I'm part of your team, somewhat. Still.
Always. Now, since you're going to be part of the team, you're going to ride in the storm tracker, chase tornadoes?
Oh, I always wanted to do that, but my schedule, because there was, we didn't have enough people to cover all of the spots and stuff, but I always thought that would be something I'd like to do. It's on my bucket list.
Okay, I'll put a good word in.
We'll
see what we can do.
All righty.
All right, thanks so much, Judy. It's great to talk to you today on this winter day, finally.
Yes.
A couple of days.
I was looking forward to this, maybe not this much, but Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, that's when I want it to look like this. Not now.
Right. So it'll be spring before we know it.
It will.
All right, thanks so much, Judy.
Okay.